Hello, Happy New Year. It's always a weird time of year, isn't it? When it ticks from December to January and you have to add one to the year. You get reminded that you're gonna die and that there are goals that you set 5 years ago that you're still setting now, but you also get reminded about positive changes that you can make in life. And this video is about that second category, self-improvement. This is a video about strengthening goals. Specifically, it's about 11 tools that you can use to strengthen your goals. And whether your goal is super clear and like really well written out, or whether it's just a vague, nebulous, like, oh, that'd be cool if I could have that, I'm gonna try cover all the bases here. And the purpose of this video is to fortify anybody who's got a sense of determination to make this year better than last year. Keyword there is determination. And I say that because I had a pretty average year.
But we all know the cliche, the upside, the silver lining to having a challenging year. They're typically the ones that grow you the most. And the growth that comes from hard times, this is like the best type of growth, right? This is the potent stuff. This is the stuff you can't replicate through any other means. If you want this, life genuinely has to suck in order to get it. But there's also kind of one more step, you know? This growth, it's like it sits behind this paywall, but instead of money, you have to access it with like extreme self-reflection. And that is more or less what I've been doing lately. A whole lot of extreme self-reflection. Yeah, and so I decided to incorporate all of these lessons into a tool that allows me to go really, really deep on specific goals. Also, for the tool, I managed to make all of my subheadings start with the letter I. So alphabet superset, this is my I video. Let's do it. 11 ways to strengthen your goals, and they all start with I. Yep.
11 eyes, like Leela from Futurama holding a horseshoe crab. The first I, identify. Literally just identifying the goal. My bare minimum questions that I like to know about a goal before starting anything are these. 1, clearly state the goal, like as if you could to a 5-year-old, for example. The second is, what time frame would you like to do this in? The third is, why do you want to do this? And that I will often divide into the reason that I'm comfortable telling people, and then the embarrassing reason that I keep to myself. You know, like if you want to get fit because it's good for your health, but really it's just vanity or whatever, that's fine. If it's motivating, I'll write it down. And then the fourth question might feel a bit cerebral or out of place, but I have found it to be quite helpful, and that is, why haven't you done it yet? Now at first, it's a pretty aggressive question. Why haven't you done it yet? Especially if it's a goal that you've only just come up with. You're like, oh man, I didn't have the idea. But the reason that I think it's so useful that I'm putting it right here in the first step is because it's a great way to firstly connect with my flaws, you know, like the stuff I do wrong, like, oh, I'm a serial procrastinator, I'm a massive perfectionist or whatever. And the second is it gets me to get real with my actual circumstances. You know, if I found it hard to do this or this because, I don't know, I moved house and was trying to raise a toddler last year, then that's fine. If that's one of the reasons, well, obviously it's not a character flaw, but it is super helpful to be aware of.
So these 4 questions, if I want to know a goal, these are the bare minimum for me. If I can answer these 4 things, it's a pretty easy viability test. And obviously this is just what works for me. I'm not an expert, just some dude with a YouTube channel. But when I was putting together this tool, I made it as a journaling resource, but I also then made something for myself. Now I feel weird about it because it uses AI, and man, AI is so murky, dude. Oh my god. Is it fun? Is it an existential threat? Find out after the apocalypse. But yeah, mostly because I was procrastinating, I made this little AI bot that basically takes my answers to these 4 questions and then extrapolates them to answer the next 10. And the answers are so far from perfect, but I did find that they led to thoughts that I hadn't thought before, and that was really, really fascinating to me. And for the sake of balance, while we're talking about AI and all of this future tech stuff, I've decided to use some really old tech. Yeah, I'm filming this on a camera from 2005. Talking about new technology with old technology. So this is the way the tool works. If we're on the 2005 camera, I'm talking AI. Yeah. What is your goal? Finish writing my second book. When do you want to achieve it by? Within 6 months. Why do you want this goal? Because I can feel myself getting older. I want to provide for my family. I genuinely feel like I've got something to say. Why haven't you got this goal yet? I'm scared. I feel a lot of pressure to write that second book. My first book became an international bestseller, which I didn't expect, but I also didn't expect what that would feel like in terms of pressure to write the second one, and I'm struggling to find the time. I have a toddler, I get stressed more easily than I'd like to admit, and I'm a massive perfectionist. Alrighty, let's see what the AI does. And this is what it has churned out. After each point, I'll go through what they mean, and then I'll read out my results. You can use this if you want. Obviously, there is no pressure to use this. Like I said, I just made it for me, but after I ran it a couple times, I was like, it's probably gonna help at least one person. And I think the good outweighs the bad. So Obviously, take the answers with a grain of salt, but if it helps anyone who is struggling, then I guess that's net good. Maybe. Find out after...
Alright, we've identified our goal, or at least we've answered those 4 questions. What is the second I? Give me a second I. Inversion. Inversion part 1 and inversion part 2. This will be I's 2 and 3. It's kind of fun. So inversion is a concept that I have heard best articulated by a dude called George Mack. And the way that he puts it is when you're thinking about something that you want, it's very natural to think about all of the things that you would need to do to get that thing, but he also likes to add, what would you need to do to not get that thing? Now that's pretty abstract, but don't worry, our boy George has given us a tangible example. Let's say you want to be happy. Pretty common goal, notoriously difficult one to answer. You know, what makes anybody happy? That's like an age-old question, right? But what inversion does is it flips the question. Let's say you were already happy, or you had a very, very happy person. What would you need to do in order to make them miserable? And this is a much easier question to answer. If you got a happy person, just, I don't know, bit of sleep deprivation, bad nutrition, don't let them out of the house, don't let them see sunlight, and then, I don't know, rob them. Forget their name at a party, kick them in the teeth, bunch of that sort of stuff. Classics. That'd be pretty sad. And so his reasoning is, all right, I might not be able to get 100% happy, but I could at least avoid the baseline of misery by not doing all of these things. And so to rephrase this in terms of our own goal, right now the question is like, how can I get whatever this goal is? How can I win that show, Ninja Warrior, right? Let's say that's our goal. Is it? We flip the question and say, let's say we were already on the path to getting that goal. How would we get ourselves off the path? What would you need to do to ensure that you never got that goal? So to not win Ninja Warrior, yeah, I'm gonna keep that example going. If I had to guarantee that I would never become a Ninja Warrior, that's actually pretty easy, you know? Just don't enter. If I really had to guarantee it, don't exercise, let my muscles atrophy, eat poorly, sleep poorly, it's all the same stuff, right? And I'm certain this must be obvious to like most people, but to me, I don't know, it's one of those things that I think I need to constantly remind myself of, is that when you want something, there is a path to getting it, but there is also a clear path to losing it. And defining that can make this path way easier.
Alright, this is from a little AI project. Inversion. To perfectly not achieve your goal, you must master the art of procrastination. Cultivate the fine tradition of telling yourself that today is not the right day for inspiration. And tomorrow is so full of potential, it'd just be a shame to start now. Your toddler's antics? A perfect excuse. Use every spit up and tantrum as a shield against the looming threat of literary productivity. That was cool. It was verbose as hell, which is how I designed it, because I'm a goofy fella.
Third I. Inversion part 2, aka indecision is decision. You know the myth about indecision? That not picking a path is a vantage point from which you can assess your options? Versus the truth about indecision, and it's just one more path. For the third I, what I like to do here is empower myself by scaring myself. This step is about dramatizing what happens if you don't do it. And like really going into what it might feel like in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Because otherwise it's not really an even playing ground. You know, you're pitting short term against long term. Short term tends to win. All right, so let's apply this to our goal. What does this actually look like within this tool?
Back to the old camera, this is what my little AI thing spat out. Your laptop. Once your portal to creation, now serves as a glorified coaster, bearing the ring marks of 1,000 coffees drunk staring at a blank document. Friends ask, when's the next book coming? And you laugh it off, but the question gnaws at your soul like a starved rodent. Ouch. Ouch.
What I like to do here is really just live in the hypothetical of regret. That's chipper way to start the year, bruh. So for the goals, where doing them would have a massive benefit, but not doing them doesn't really have like an immediate negative consequence. Like, you know, write a graphic novel, or don't. I could chill, I could go to the beach. Both great options, right? But let's expand that one 20 years, and let's say it was my dream to write this graphic novel, and I just didn't do it. The price that I would be paying would be regret. And in both paths there are regret. Regret's inevitable. You know, it's regret for, I don't know, either working on it, or it's regret for not doing it. It's just picking the regret. That's how I like to see this one. We've done our first 3 I's, it's time for the fourth. 4 I's, baby. Imagine that it's possible. It's our first positive step, isn't it? Yeah, but it's a good one. Imagine the possibility. Like, actually imagine of you doing the goal. We've put ourselves in the future, we've realized what would make us fail and how it would make us feel. Now it's time to get empowered by coming back to the present, realizing that we don't have to take that path, and in fact we will not be taking that path. And then just imagining the possibility of actually doing it. Like, what would it actually feel like?
Alright, back to this camera. What have we got, robot? But wait, the grim future is but a phantom, a cautionary tale spun from the threads of inaction and fear. Right, with the fury of a parent who knows that nap time is fleeting. You can do this. You will do this. Your pen, your spirit, and a ticking of the clock all chant in unison. It's time to write. Wow, that was really fun. This is wild, man. It's crazy to think that all of this was written by Allen Iverson.
The fifth eye. Yes, it's Gandalf, Smeagol, and Sauron. 5 eyes. Ingredients. This is a question that I got from the great uncle of YouTube self-help, Tom Bilyeu. No bullshit, what would it take? When you're looking at your goal, that's the question. No bullshit, what would it take? This is where we take the possibility feeling from question 4 and we add tangibles. I like to see it literally as an ingredients list, like in a cookbook or whatever. How much time will it take? What's the daily commitment? What tools, routines, what materials do I need? All of that sort of stuff. Like, just get down to the brass tacks, man. Which, by the way, I've learned is spelled brass tacks. Until like a week ago, I thought it was a tax on brass. I am not a smart man, man.
Back to my little human AI project. Ingredients. A clear concept, an outline, a word count goal, daily writing quota, time allocation, weekly review, support system, accountability, and tools. And it's cool. It's even gone into like details. Carve out a daily writing spot, could be as little as 30 minutes, but it's your non-negotiable appointment with your manuscript. Obviously, it's not gospel. I'm using it as a starting point, but it's got me thinking, man.
Now, there is one ingredient that I think is best left off this list and put into the next section, and that is the most important ingredient, you. Oh, that felt real after school special. It's you. It's you. The sixth eye, identity. This is the key ingredient that's going to put all of the ingredients together in the right way. But there are 2 questions that I think it's very important to ask. For your goal, who would you need to be in order to do it? And then, who would you need to not be in order to do it? And this comes back to the idea that if you want change in your life, you'll probably have to start with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I really want, I don't know, what do I really want? To be ripped like Brad Pitt in Fight Club, but I am a scrawny 12-year-old. What I'd need to be in order to do this is somebody who can get up at this time, train like this, have this sort of consistency and level of discipline, think about food, research, blah, blah, blah. What I would need to not be is kind of my current self. A little bit lazy, bruh. Just a little bit lazy. Not super lazy, but it's not an ignorable amount of laziness. So I'd need to stop that. Let's talk about the 7th eye, implementation. That's a fun word. So just to recap as to where we are before we implement anything, we know what our goal is, we know what happens if we don't do it, because we've sort of like articulated that threat. We've made ourselves open to the idea that getting it is actually possible. We've asked no bullshit what would this actually take to get. And from here we found an ingredients list and also who we would need to be in order to get it. Now it's time to put it all together in chronological order, baby. Yeah, little steps, little step action.
Alright, back to old camera, new tech. Implementation. Oh man. This is fully split it up. So it's got a morning routine, it's got a nap time hustle on account of the toddler, that's nice and customized. Got the evening review, weekly planning, word count tracking, daily accountability check-in, weekly, bit of self-care in there, and date night. Oh, that's nice.
Now, looking at all this, it is so much easier said than done. I assume that everyone has had this experience where you plan something and then you do it and then, I don't know, like 35 things go wrong and you're like, whoa, whoops. And that initial honeymoon high that launched you on a beautiful trajectory when everything was exciting at the start of the year, it just kind of fades. There is data on this, by the way. I don't know if you've seen that Strava study about New Year's resolutions, but apparently more than half of people give up on their New Year's resolutions within 3 weeks.
By January 19th. And from this study, about 80% of New Year's resolutions fail like 3 weeks later. So what about the people who keep going? Strava found that they tended to run with other people, so accountability partners. And from Gareth Mills from Strava, the key to long-term success past January is goal setting. 88% of runners are still active 6 months after setting a goal. So in Strava words, I want to run 1,000 kilometers this year is a goal. I want to run more is likely to fail by January 19th.
To account for this, the 8th eye, input. Along the path of whatever this goal happens to be, what will you consume? So I'll break this down into what will you consume, be it media, be it like lifestyle things, be it actually like your nutrition, all that sort of stuff. And then what won't you consume? What is off limits? And that's a big one for me as a former drug addict and alcoholic. Not consuming drugs and alcohol has made a tremendously positive impact on my life. Massively, man.
Worst things to consume? Social media. You too, computer. Surprise, surprise. The endless scroll can suck up your time and energy, not to mention the comparison game is a creativity killer.
One thing that I like to do when I think about input is sort of pair whatever goal I have with some sort of media. I think I've talked about this before. I call it possibility pairing. I like that little name. But yeah, like let's say if you want to run an ultra marathon, listen to a book by an ultra runner. Any media that makes my goal feel possible. That is what I like to reinforce when I'm on that journey. So yeah, put that in input. The ninth eye. Yeah, it's a spider and a cyclops. Inertia. Specifically, once the initial excitement wears off, what strategies and tools will you use to keep going? That's the question. I think it's super important to ask, or at least I personally find it super important to ask because I am very prone to excitement. And I'm also quite prone to like a single setback, you know, like as soon as a project gets hard, you're like, I'll just start a new one. It was fun at the start. That thing, and come a long way in the past however many years, but only by constantly asking myself, what are you going to do when you get to the messy middle? What are you going to do when you're not fired up like you were last week? What are you going to do when, I don't know, you get sick and it's raining and your daughter was meant to be in daycare, but now she's sick too, and also, I don't know, somebody just chopped your foot off or whatever? What are you going to do then? I try to start with the assumption that bad days are inevitable and then work out little strategies to overcome them when I'm actually in them.
I guess now's the right time to give some examples of inertia strategies. Here are two of my favorite. The Neil Gaiman writing method. This is where you say you can either work or not work, but you can't do anything else. And the idea here is that you bore yourself into working. The real heavy duty version of this involves creating a situation that actually enforces this rule. For example, turning off the internet or working in a room with limited stimulation. I am very prone to distraction, clinically prone to distraction, so I really quite like this. Second example, the wall. This is something that I have done for years. It helped me start this channel, helped me write this book, and it also helped me create just a whole bunch of other projects. I'm a pretty visual dude, so for a massive project, what I do is I break up the project into steps and then I put them on a wall where I can see them. That way I can see the start and the finish line, and here's me, the arrow, moving through the levels until I get to the finish line. I've spiced it up a little bit this year and I'm building in little rewards after certain tasks. Alright, so old tech has failed us. This thing, overheated. Sorry buddy, we're doing phones. This is not quite the juxtaposition I was after, but it'll get us to the finish line. Okay, non-2005 tech, inertia. Remind yourself of the why, track progress visually. Hey, I did that. Celebrate small victories, change your environment, and read inspiring testimonials. Their victories can rekindle your own motivation. Neat. Now, these are cool to keep the inertia going when it slows down, but what do you do if things just go totally bonkers? What do you do then? Well, this is the 10th eye. In case of emergency. If the 9th eye, inertia, was about things just not going great, this 10th eye is about the very serious things that can derail your whole life if you're not careful. For me, my main thing with this step is just keep it simple. Because if you get too intense, you can just risk catastrophizing.
Some you can definitely plan for, like for example, assuming burnout is inevitable, I find can be really helpful if I've got like a long-term project, like assuming at some point I will hate this and hate myself resultantly. So therefore I create like a little burnout emergency kit, you know, turn off the phone, go into nature, you get the idea. But there are obviously things that are less predictable.
But even if they are unknown, there are still simple ways that you can help your future self, if you want to. For example, if you make videos and you're quite serious about upload consistency, this could look like preparing a backlog of videos. A more common example that I like involves literally just saving money in an emergency fund.
Just in case everything goes wrong, it's like creating your own security blanket. So in case of emergency is just architecting your own get out of jail free card.
And on that note, it's probably also worth mentioning that not all emergencies are problems that have solutions.
Sometimes emergencies are so big that they will derail, and sometimes they'll make you just reconsider everything. So for honesty, we don't need to go into it. I sort of talked about it a bit on Discord, but a close friend of mine died quite suddenly at the end of last year. It was fucking horrible. And yeah, I don't know, fucked me up quite a bit. It was just really awful. And those kind of things do happen in life, and to think that they don't can, I don't know, cause a lot of trouble at some point down the road. I would say that the best thing you can do is not guilt trip yourself if something like that happens. But I mean, that's what I would want to hear. I don't know what anybody else would want to hear in that situation. All right, let's move on before I cry.
He was going to cry, wasn't he? He was. All right, let's see what AI's got. The 10-minute rule. Tell yourself you're right for just 10 minutes. The 1-sentence challenge. Just commit to writing one good sentence. The escape plan. Have a pre-planned writing retreat, even if it's just a day away from everything else. The success jar. Write down achievements, however small, put them into paper, put them in a jar. And the emergency contact. Designate a friend or mentor you can call when you're stuck. They should be instructed to give you a pep talk or a gentle kick to get you back on track.
Our 11th eye, immediate action. When you are feeling fired up about a goal, that feeling will not last. But right now it exists, and that is a gift, man.
According to my weird little AI project, we have stand up, stretch out, and take 3 deep breaths. Open your writing tool of choice, set a time of 15 minutes, and spill your thoughts onto the page. Don't edit, just create.
So what this step is about is identifying immediate actions that we can take, because it's the first step that unlocks all of the other ones. And action, I find, is something that is very, very susceptible to momentum. Just taking that first step, and it can be tiny, man. It can be like just, I don't know, pen to paper. It really does make all of the subsequent actions way less freaky.
That is neat. That's neat. It's a lot.
So yeah, that is how I extrapolate goals, conveniently put into a list of 11 eyes. What do you think, man? Like I said, I made this AI tool. I know people feel weird about AI. I feel weird about AI. The metaphor that I've heard is like, fire could warm up your house, fire could burn that house down. Who knows? How are you gonna use fire? Are you gonna use fire? But yeah, I think I do wanna just offer it out, just cause, I don't know, man, like, goals are hard, life is hard. You get the idea. In any case, welcome to 2024. That was I, and yeah, have a beautiful day. Catch ya.